Start. Good morning. It's a little after 10 right now. Uh, Appreciate y'all joining in. We realize that most of you are not going to be live, but this is a recording, and we're going to encourage all of our 30 schools in Texas and then our schools in these other 8 states that we're working with large rural populations to expose these Meet the Expert sessions with as many of your students as you possibly can, because what we're trying to do is help these students become aware of all the opportunities there are out in rural uh, Texas, rural America, and in this case out in Hamlin, Texas, where they have quite a lot going on. And so we appreciate you joining this morning. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Tucker Teague with Teague Cattle Company. Tucker is, as you'll find out in a minute, heavily engaged in the beef cattle industry in a number of ways. In the grain industry with the grain elevator there in Hamlin, Pied Piper Mills, and then a number of other things going on, as he's also the mayor of Hamlin. And he's also been starting up a number of small businesses in Hamlin. And we're working very closely with them and a potential 3D housing company in Austin to begin a housing project in the very near future to address what is a problem in Hamlin, but it's also a problem in nearly every one of these rural communities that we work with, and that is lack of adequate housing. And they're in a perfect position to do something about this because they've got a ready, willing, and able business partner in Tucker, who is also the mayor of Hamlin. Dr. Randy Burks, who is the recently retired superintendent, is the head of the EDC in Hamlin. And they've got the innovative school, the collegiate school system, that's a P-TECH that is already well aligned with higher ed and workforce to address this post-secondary credential crisis, which is the purpose of our model. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tucker Teague to talk to you a little bit. And Tucker, appreciate you being here with us this morning.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, so I grew up in Colorado, actually, on a ranch and feedlot operation, and spent my younger days learning how to work cattle and working with the guys in the feed yard. And Dad bought grain and cattle, and we sold a lot of cattle to JBS growing up, and just got my start in the cattle business there. Then I actually ended up going to Texas A&M. When I was a freshman at Texas A&M, my granddad, who was a cattle buyer, he passed away. And so I ended up moving back to Hamlin in 2016, 2017, early 2017. And we had a small piece of ground here and just started fixing it up. And we were buying and shipping cattle to Fort Morgan, Colorado, where we were finished feeding them. And it just grew and grew and grew. There's a lot of opportunity here in Hamlin in this West Texas area, buying high-risk cell barn cattle and getting them healthy and straightening them out and then finish feeding them. And so when I started, I had 30 or 40 head, and it's grown to 15 to 20,000 head. And then we finish feed cattle all over the United States and feedlots kind of in the center part of the United States. But the cattle business is kind of the bread and butter of everything. And actually in 2021 or 2022, I needed a way to source feed for all these cattle. And so I ended up purchasing the Hamlin elevator, which was vacant at the time and not being operated. And I fixed it up, and now it's operational. We're actually the largest wheat provider to Viterra Mills in Saginaw, where bread is made. And Ardent Mills is attached to that elevator system over there. And so we provide them with about 1.5 million bushels of wheat a year. We're hoping to get up to 2 million. And then all the bad wheat goes to our cattle company. It's fed to cattle there. And it's very economical because you can sell the good wheat into the flour mill system and get a price benefit to that. And then the poor wheat goes to the cattle, and cattle don't know the difference. And so it's good for the farmers, good for us. And it's kind of synergistic and saves us money and makes us money. And anyways, the cattle and the grain started making decent money, and we were very blessed and fortunate with that, but we didn't want to leave that there. And And I'm a big small town guy. My granddad was from this area, Hamlin, and we've always loved Hamlin, and it's a place I want to live the rest of my life. So we started fixing local businesses up that were kind of run down. And I think now we have 2 restaurants. We have a laundromat, a clothing store, a feed store, and then we actually just got the dog food plant here in Hamlin operational. And so we're trying to take those dollars from the agricultural side that we're benefiting from and trying to use those to revitalize the town. We've purchased 52 rental homes in the town of Hamlin, and we rent those out to local employees or just people that live here, and just trying to revitalize and jumpstart the economy here in Hamlin. It's a great little small town to live in. And anyways, I just become really involved and care about the economy here and the people here and the environment here. And so I was elected to be mayor last May. I got 88% of the votes, and so I've been taking that over and trying to do a lot of economic development there with Dr. Burks and trying to spark some grant funding and just we're tearing down old junk houses that are dilapidated, and then we're hoping to get we kind of have a 3-stage process here. The first one is we want to tear down the old houses, and get the place cleaned up, and then kind of start revitalizing the town. And then the third phase would be to after we kind of get the place cleaned up and then get the local businesses boosted and the economy kind of going. Then once we have what we have here now going good as our second phase, then the third phase will be to build some new additional homes to start sparking growth here. We'd like to have 5,000 people here in the next 10 years. And I think when we get to 4,000 or 5,000 people, our economy can feed off of itself and be more beneficial to all the businesses that are here. And so that's kind of where I'm at, what I'm doing. I think Hamlin's a great place to live. Rural America is safe. We have an extremely low crime rate, a lot of pride in our community here, pride in our school. We've got a collegiate ISD, great school. Got people commuting here from Abilene to go to school here. And so it's just awesome little community. I'm proud to be a part of it. And I think we're making waves and making changes here that we've got a lot of good people moving to town. And we want to continue to see them moving here. So that's where I'm at.
Tucker, it sounds like you're a awfully busy person, and I run in circles with a lot of folks that are needing 30-hour days and 10-day weeks to take advantage of all the stuff they really want to do. And you definitely fit into that category. So I appreciate that overview to help these students, understand that you're much more than a cattleman. But back to the cattle business specifically, and I know this from being in the cattle business myself, there's all kinds of niches, and most cattlemen have some kind of niche, whether it's a cow-calf operation or a seed stock operation or a feedlot. But yours is a little bit different. Talk a little bit about what specifically your program is. I know y'all are not a feedlot. You develop and finish cattle. So anyway, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so basically what goes on in West Texas, your average rancher has got 10, 15 head of cattle. Ranch size isn't very big due to the land being broke up into smaller parcelages. So we parcels, and so we buy those high risk cattle in the sale barns that are sold in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 head packages. And a lot of those cattle are bulls. The bull calves aren't cut, they're not vaccinated, and those cattle need those things, because if you just take them away from their mom, run them through a sale barn, haul them somewhere, stress them out, and they don't have that vaccine and that immunity, they get sick and die, and they have all sorts of health problems that damages their lungs, damages their performance. And those cattle's job is to gain weight and grow and put meat on the bone, and then that's what we eat as hamburger steak and all those things. And if those cattle's health is compromised, they can't do that. And so what we do is we take all these high-risk calves that are run through all these small sale barns in the state of Texas, especially West Texas and Central Texas. We buy them, we bring them into Hamlin. We build load lots, which is a truckload or 2 loads, and we lot those cattle, pen them, we vaccinate them, give them everything they need to be successful, mineral feed, good nutrition program, and then all the vaccines and those things that they need to be successful. And then we turn them out on grass traps, and we have cowboys that ride them every day. We've got a feed crew that feeds them every day. We hay them every day, basically getting those cattle all the proper nutrition that they need to be successful, as well as all the vaccinations that they need to start healing and building that immunity. And then the Cowboys doctor anything that gets sick, it's profitable business because it's high risk. Those cattle are high risk because they don't have those vaccines and immunity. And you can see anywhere from a 2 or 3% death loss to a 10% death loss just based on the fact that it'd be like throwing a bunch of high school and college kids in a room together with no vaccines, and everybody started one would bring illness to the school, and then everybody would get sick, and before long, if nobody was vaccinated or had no immunity, we'd start having a lot of health issues. And so basically what we're trying to do is mend those kids, get them ready. It's kind of like college. We're getting them prepared to go to their job, which would be the feedlot. So once they're healthy here, they stay here 60 to 90 days. And then once they're prepared, they leave and they go to the feedlot. And when they go to the feedlot, they've got immunity, they've got a good nutrition plan, mineral program behind them. They go to finish feed. We feed cattle mostly in Kansas and Nebraska and Colorado. And they go there, and then they're finished fed from about 800 pounds to 1,500 pounds, where they're harvested at a kill weight, finish weight, and they go to National Beef Packers in Liberal, Kansas, and that's where they're turned into the end product, which is the meat that we consume and goes to grocery stores. And so basically our niche is just buying high-risk cattle. And the reason that we're successful in that and make money in that is because we have super cheap feed from the grain elevator, and we have very good cowboys that take good care of those cattle and they keep them alive. And so our death loss and our doctor rate's low, and we get those cattle to perform.
Yeah, and okay, so you get them ready to go to the feed yard. Do y'all retain ownership through the feedlot and then to the packer?
I didn't used to, but I do now. Yeah, it takes a lot of money to own cattle. Average steer or heifer these days costs $1,500 to $2,000, and so you can imagine the type of capital it takes. And starting out, getting built up, I would sell those cattle as straightened out feeder cattle to other feedlots. But I knew that there was more money to be made in finishing those cattle, but I didn't have enough money to keep my place full and finish feed them. And so about last year is when I first had the opportunity to start feeding some of my own cattle. I'd made enough money that where I could retain ownership in those. And so now I have about, between my place here in Hamlin and on feed, I have about 20,000 head of cattle, and I own them all and retain them all. And they're all finished fed all the way through. So they're bought as like 400-pound to 500-pound cattle here. And the biggest cattle we'll buy, sometimes we buy some 700-pound steers and heifers, and those cattle are owned all the way to their finished weight of 1,500 pounds where they're slaughtered. And we own them the entire time.
Would you say 20,000, is that about an average annual? Or I know some things vary depending on the weather and other factors, but would you say pretty much finish about 20,000 a year?
One-time capacity would be about 20,000, but we would turn that 2.5 times a year, so 50-60,000 head total.
Oh, okay. So that's the cattle side of it, and you mentioned the grain business with the wheat and the mill there, Pied Piper Mills. So, about how many acres of wheat do y'all run cattle on during the winter?
There's we lease Haskell Farms, which is 15,000 acres, and then we source some ground around Hamlin and a little bit north in the Rochester area, and so probably 20,000 acres, 15 to 20,000, and then we lease some grass around, and so that's kind of different than once those cattle are strained out and healthy here, and they've got that immunity. We can grow them on wheat or grass cheaper than we can feed them in a feedlot most of the time. And so that's where the wheat pasture and the grass pasture comes in. We'll get them healthy here in these smaller traps where we can tend to them, feed them, take care of them, get our eyes on them every day. And then when they're healthy, we turn them out on some of those grass forages and get some pounds put on them at a cheaper cost to gain before they go to the feedlot. And so there's all different aspects, straighten them out here on nutrition program where we feed them, or turn them out on grass forage, wheat forage, rye forage, whatever it is, growing them there, and then finish feeding them with grain. But last year, I think we turned 13 or 14,000 head out on wheat pasture at one time.
Okay. Well, and so then the third leg of that three-legged stool is the grain elevator, and obviously you store your grain, and do you buy grain from other producers, and how does that all work in your operation?
All that grain is purchased. We don't have any of our own farm ground. It's all cattle or cattle land on our side. But I needed a way to feed those cattle, and I was having to ship grain from Dallas, Saginaw area over here to feed them. But there was the local elevator in Hammond that was shut down, and so I just bought it, and it took a lot of money to fix it up. But I knew that over 3 or 4 years I could pay for it based off just saving money on cattle feed. And God was really good to us. And we actually, the first year we were blessed and we got the elevator paid off the first year, and it had a really good harvest. And then we had a bumper crop last year. And so that's been really awesome. And we've been able to get the elevator paid off, and it's saving us money on the purchase side of the grain. But it's all sourced from local farmers. And so what I try to do is I put a really competitive bid out, where these farmers, I want anywhere 100 miles around me to be able to bring their wheat to me and their cattle to me. And just that wheat product's very valuable because I trade the futures a lot, and I'd say that's one of my skills that I really enjoy and I've been blessed to learn and understand how to do. But I'm a big commodity trader, and so I can price a lot of that grain very good just watching markets and using different put calls and option values and different hedge strategies where I can get pretty high to the top of the market for the local farmers, where they might not be as sophisticated in their trading, but they know that they can trust me to give them a good price for their crop. And so started out, they told me that I wouldn't be able to get 4, 5, 600,000 bushels of wheat. And I think the first year we took in 900,000, and then the second year we took in 1.7 million bushels. And so we've really grown. I'm hoping this year we take in 2.5 million in grain bushels, which a bushel of grain weighs 56 pounds. So you can imagine 2.5 million bushels of 56-pound bushel weight. That's a lot of grain moving through a facility. We ship anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 trucks in and out of the elevator a year. And I just love agriculture. I love the grain side. I love the cattle side. And this is what built me. This is where I come from. And if I could do anything with the agriculture community to help it be successful in this area, that's what I want to do. And man, it's not necessarily about me or my name or anything, but I just want to be able to help local families and local agriculture be extremely successful, because I think that's what built these communities, and that's what it's all about. And I hate seeing them dry up and go away. And so if we can revitalize some of those things and build these communities back where we're all successful long term, that's what we want to do.
Thank you. And then the housing thing. I know y'all have several employees, and tell them a little bit about what piqued your interest in addressing the housing issue, and a little bit about what your plan is moving forward on that.
Well, so I came from Colorado where housing was extremely expensive and unaffordable. And then I moved here, and I didn't really notice it the first 4 or 5 years that I was doing business, but I started to make a little extra money and I got to looking around town, and Hamlin has extremely affordable housing. I think we have 52 rental homes, and they're 13 to 1400 probably average square foot. And we have about $50 a square foot in those homes. And that's $50,000-$60,000 for a house. And you think they're junky houses, but they're actually pretty decent little houses. I would live in them, and they're good little homes. And so you compare that housing to across the United States, this is one of the cheapest areas to live in the United States. And you think about the population increase and the amount of people that are moving, coming to America, or just the population growth within America. We have a huge housing shortage. We can't build them fast enough. People can't afford them as they are. And so you look around, and I think that in 15 to 20 years, these houses could triple or quadruple in value, if not more than that. And then you can depreciate those assets for tax purposes. And so I bought the houses, as an investment strategy. I rent them out, and the rent makes the payments on the house and makes a little money on top of that. So, at the end of 20 years, I'll have a house that made me a little money every year, and I'll still have the house. And so I hope that in 20, 30 years, I can sell the house for 4 or 5 times what I got in it, and would have made a little bit of money on it each year in between. And so just looking at a good investment on my side, but also to help build the town back up. You know, we buy those homes, we fix them up, we make them presentable, repaint them, kind of get them fixed up where they look attractive to the town. And if it gives somebody, whether it's an employee of mine or just somebody that's coming into town to benefit the town, a place to live, that's what we want to do. And Hamlin has a lot of homes, and some of them just need a little bit of TLC, and then they're good to go. But there hasn't been the investment money to come in and fix a lot of those homes in the past. And so that's where I saw that opportunity. And you can already see it change in the housing market. Has changed in the last 12 months since I've been buying homes, where now you almost can't afford them, or you can't buy them like I had bought them. And so that's where that come from. And then if we can get together and get this 3D housing project started, people just need a place to live in the United States. They want to live rural, and they want to live in a good, safe town. And Hamlin's a great opportunity. So once we get things kind of stabilized here, which we're on the mend there and pretty close to having that done, then we'll start building new homes where we can get growth and development on the economic side and the housing side in this town. And I really think that in 10, 15 years, once that growth starts, it'll just spark a huge growth development stage here. And Hamlin has every opportunity in the world to be a boom town.
Yeah. Well, and you know, you're talking about your vision on the 3D houses. And of course, we've done some research on those. And from my vantage point, just looking at, as I learn more about that, that looks like the future of housing, especially rural housing, and especially in rural areas where storms can be a problem, fire's always a threat, and everything. And so we've been in conversation. One of our honorary chairs of our capital campaign for Collegiate Edu-Nation is Red Stiegel, and he has the weekly show somewhere west of Wall Street on RFD TV, and we've had a conversation with him. And what we would like to do, and we're really your biggest fan and your best advocate, is to see Hamlin attain the vision that you have for Hamlin, where it can be a model for rural revitalization, not only for West Texas, but for Texas and now even the United States. So we're thankful for your entrepreneurial spirit and the things that you're doing and the things that you envision for Hamlin. And you're kind of already under the microscope from a state and national perspective. And so we're looking forward to working alongside y'all. And you know how many residents in Hamlin today? Roughly
At the
speaking.
peak, and it's right now it's about 1,800 people, and we've stopped the shrinking of Hamlin. In its peak, it was about 3,700 people, and it's gone down every year since, except last year. This was the first year where we actually had a little bit of growth, and so that's really encouraging to see. And now I think we've got a very attractive platform to bring people to. We just got to have the housing for them to move to. And I was telling some of y'all know this, and I know Kim knows this, but the town that I grew up in was a very rural, small town, just like Hamlin, and it had 1,000 people in it. And we started building homes right around the time that I left, and a group of people, investors did that I knew, and they've built I think over 500 homes now. They've almost tripled the population of that town, and it was dead. It was about to go by the wayside, and it's just gone crazy and grown crazy. And people just want a place to live. You build them a nice home, and the people come. You know, we got people moving out of California and Oregon that are good, hardworking folks. They just can't survive out there because the economies are so bad and the cost of living is so high. And so if we can provide those people a good place to live and a business opportunity here or a place to work, they'll just come in droves and flocks. And so I want to be the one that takes advantage of that, and the first to, you know, have that capability to provide them a place to live. And you look at rural economic data and housing data, and people are moving rural as fast as they possibly can. And as soon as we get that place for them to move to, they'll just come in droves.
Yeah, we say all the time, you know, I've made a lot of observations since the pandemic, And if there is a silver lining behind something like a pandemic, it made rural and the wide open spaces look better than ever. And so rural real estate has just been red hot since then. And people are realizing, I can live in a place like Hamlin, for example, and really work anywhere in the world. We were doing a cybersecurity meet the expert earlier this week, and there are literally thousands of new jobs in cybersecurity that you can live in Hamlin, Texas, and do that, and then a lot of other things. But this is great, and I really appreciate your time this morning and sharing with these students. And the main thing, we want to wake these students up to high expectations. And you got a big vision for Teague Cattle. You got a big vision for Hamlin. You've seen it happen in Colorado where you grew up. And so, that's the kind of vision that we need to develop in these students to think up things, to improve their local situation, improve the state, improve the nation. And we think rural is the backbone of this country. We were talking about in Texas earlier this week on a different Meet the Expert Zoom. Texas is about 85 or more percent urban today, but they live in 15% of the population, and we're charged, the 15% of us out here in these rural areas are charged with providing the food, fuel, and fiber, not only for the 85% in urban areas, but beyond that, beyond Texas and even internationally, as Texas is now the 8th largest economy in the world, even ahead of Russia. We're gaining about 1,300 residents a day. And so rural agriculture is at the heart of the Texas economy. And you're at the heart of rural agriculture with what you're doing out there in Hamlin, Texas. So thanks again for your time and sharing your expertise and information. And it's always good to see you, and looking forward to working with you closely moving forward.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I'll leave y'all with this. But one of the things that's kind of been on my mind a lot lately, and every day when I go to work, I think about it. But there's a quote. I think one of our presidents said it, but he said, "I believe in myself, I believe in my God, and I believe in my country." And y'all just need to know that whatever you set your mind to, and whatever y'all want to work towards, if you put in the work and the effort and just try to achieve it. We live in the United States of America, where you can do anything that you put your mind to if you have faith in yourself and your God. And that's kind of what strengthens me every day to go to work. And I'm not very smart. I'm not very talented, but I will outwork anybody in the world. And if you have that same vision and that ethic, you can do anything. So that's what I'll leave y'all with. And thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. And yeah, that's the key ingredient, that work ethic. Winning is not magic, and there's no silver bullet. It's learning to work longer, harder, and smarter than the competition. And you're a prime example of that. So thank you for being here this morning, and thank all the students. As you watch this, we'll be looking to field questions from you to pass on to Tucker. So thank you, Tucker, and have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Bye.